Well, there's something you don't see every day. Here's a look at the brand new Star Ace Ghostbusters Stay Puft Marshmallow Man 30 centimeter soft vinyl statue. The new iconic 30 centimeter soft vinyl Ghostbusters Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, brought to you by Star Ace. Immerse yourself in the world of Ghostbusters with this meticulously designed collectible that pays homage to the beloved Marshmallow Menace. Crafted with the utmost attention to detail, the soft vinyl rendition of Stay Puft Marshmallow Man captures the essence of the mischievous and larger-than-life character. His legs, arms, and head rotate, allowing for multiple poses. The figure features the mixed media elements of a fabric collar and necktie, and standing at an impressive 30 centimeters. This figure is a fun and authentic look at the classic movie monster. For those seeking the ultimate collector's experience, the deluxe version of Ghostbusters Stay Puft Marshmallow Man comes with additional features. Swap out standard head for the interchangeable angry expression head, capturing the iconic moment when Stay Puft goes from sweet to furious. This set also includes interchangeable fists, allowing you to recreate different poses and scenes from the Ghostbusters franchise. While Ray's still trying to figure out how that even popped in there, we're going to go ahead and measure off the top of the Ghostbusters Stay Puft Marshmallow Man soft vinyl figure, courtesy of the folks over at Star Ace. This is currently on a pre-order on many online sites with a slated release date of the first quarter of 2024 for $194.99, so it's about $195. I'd like to thank the folks over at Star Ace that allowed me the chance to have a look at this and show this to you guys early. The figure, though, of Stay Puft, counting the top of course, his sailor's hat, stands about 11.5 inches in height, or the figure is going to be about 29 centimeters tall. Some stuff does come included with Stay Puft. First of all, the figure comes included with interchangeable hands. As he is right now, the figure has his arms extended outward, as you can see, with relaxed pairs of hands. But if you prefer to have him punching things or destroying churches, then the figure also comes included with these closed fists. The fists are fairly easy to remove. It's just a case of taking the existing figure, just picking up right now, and you just literally just twist the hand, remove it from the peg. While it makes a little bit of squeaking and creaking noises, they're fairly easy to remove. And then you're just going to take the hand. Thumbs still go in, whether you're a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man or a regular human. And that just plugs back in place. Simple as that. Like I said, the figure does come included with those. I still honestly prefer just more the relaxed hands myself, just because when I think of Stay Puft, I think of a man that doesn't have much mobility and sort of just kind of slombering around through the city. So I probably prefer more these sausage relaxed hands as opposed to the more closed fists, but the figure comes included with that as well. If you are lucky enough to get your hands on the pre-order, or you're pre-ordering the deluxe version of Stay Puft, then the figure also comes included with an interchangeable head sculpt, giving him a much more angrier expression. You can see with the furrowed eyebrows. He does have his eyeballs more looking downward, and instead of actually having the big jovial sailor smile, he actually has more of a sinister smile instead. Again, this is just a case of popping off the head from the provided peg, popping this back in place. I'll do that more in a second. One thing I did also want to draw your attention to is the fact that the top of the sailor's hat that has the little ribbon is an actual real ribbon. Things that you would expect this figure to have kind of being more plastic. Instead, they swap it out to fabric, and it gives it a more premium feel to it, especially with like the sailor's collar and the bow, for example, that he has on the front of his body. We're going to come back to this, though. Hold me to this. We're going to put it to the side for right now, at least. Picking up now Stay Puft. He's a good mass of plastic. You probably would have thought to yourself, for example, that he was hollow. He is hollow, but he doesn't have the kind of plastic where you'd be able to squeeze it and feel like he depresses. Like, it's a good chunk of plastic that they've used for the actual figure himself. He's limited on articulation. That probably goes with the territory. Head, arms, hands, and down below in the legs as well. We'll kind of get down to that more in a moment. Getting, though, a look at the defaulted head sculpt. Now, this is the head sculpt that you're going to get if you get the standard release. And if you then choose to get yourself the deluxe version, it's going to come include this head sculpt that we're going to swap out more in a second. I prefer actually just the smiling face myself, because when I think of Stay Puft, I think of basically this guy just sort of, again, walking through the city streets, destroying everything in his path. Again, one thing I'm really impressed to see is the fact that they took the time to give him real material, because this easily could have been something that was sculpted in plastic. The same thing really could also be said. They could have easily sculpted this as well, the collar piece in plastic. But honestly, by giving it a real material, it does kind of elevate it from being just a plastic statue figure with limited articulation to kind of, again, something that feels a little bit more premium. Paint is really nicely done here as well. Both the pupils on the fronts of his eyes, the mouth, and of course the tongue on the inside are all nicely painted. I don't really see any paint problems at all. The Stay Puft symbol, by the way, or at least the little banner that goes around his hat, for example, does have printed on there Stay Puft. It seems like it's a little lopsided. I'd have to go back and check the movie again to see if that is accurate or not. There also seems to be a place right here where I feel like this could have been a little bit more straight across. But to be honestly fair, there is a little ridge here on the top of his head, and I would imagine they probably would have taken that from the original screen model. Nice head sculpt, though. There's a little bit of blue that's added to the top, for example, of his sailor's hat. You can find that same similar blue as well, making up the individual folds of his body. It's not to the extreme where it feels distracting. I would really want more Stay Puft to be an all-white figure with only just accents, and I think they've done that nicely. They've kind of balanced the bridge between the white and the blue without adding too much unnecessary blue. Like, so for example, he's got that airbrushed right here, kind of around where his marshmallow armpits would be. He's also got this here as well, kind of banding where his forearm would separate from the rest of his shoulder, and he's got a few little areas there also around his hand, down below also on his legs. The legs seem to be the darkest color. Again, it doesn't bother me because it kind of gives him a bit of a glowing look to it. And as well, with really being the bigger mass of him being at the top, it would make more sense then they would cast more of a shadow just above the top of his thigh. And again, he's got all these little ripples and folds to his legs. It's a really nice looking figure. Now again, if you did want to swap out the head like we did with the hands, it's just a case of actually grabbing the head and just popping off the peg like that. By looking at the top, you can also see as well how it is hollow on the inside, but again, like the plastic isn't the type that you can squeeze it. So it doesn't feel necessarily like, I don't want to say like a dog toy, but it doesn't certainly have like the squeezability that I would have probably expected with a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man figure. Again, here's the alternate head sculpt, so we're going to go ahead and pop that back in place. By the way, in case you are curious, the sailor's collar piece is completely removable. You can see the way that they've actually done this. It's really nice, really well-stitched material. And of course, he's also got the bow down below as well. It's actually stitched on the inside, so it does have a nice little overlap to it. There are a few little areas where you can kind of see the red peeking out, but then really, once you've got the head on top of it, like I'm doing right now, you'd really none be the wiser that actually there's a little bit of red fabric sticking out like this. My only other real concern is the fact that if this is blue material, and of course we're dealing with a figure that's vinyl and white, I would imagine that after a while this is going to start to stain the plastic. But I'm sure it's never going to be a time where you're probably going to be removing the collar anyway. So even if there was a stain, yeah, I mean, really, you're never going to be checking it anyways. Let's go ahead and take the head, and we're going to just pop it back onto the body. Now, this is the defaulted head sculpt. Again, if you guys want to go the route, just getting it on there. It's a little bit harder to do. It's actually a lot easier with the initial head sculpt, just because like this one, I haven't as much put this on top of the neck on the actual Stay Puft body, so it doesn't have as much kind of the broken in socket that this defaulted head sculpt would have had. Just a little bit of force off camera. I actually got the defaulted head sculpt back in place. Heating it may also help as well to kind of get the head back on there. The first couple of times you've done this, you probably won't have any problems after that. Now, when it comes to the figure's articulation, as already mentioned, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man is going to be pretty limited. Only, again, in his head, only in his shoulders, hands, and already mentioned the legs. Running through that right now, though, the head does rotate all the way around. Being that it's only attached really by a post, there really isn't an up and down motion necessarily. Would have been great if they could have found a way to incorporate a ball joint where you'd be able to kind of rotate the head around instead of just relying solely on just a swivel, but at least the figure does have that. The arms as well were something that could swivel, although the arms were really tight. I had to put kind of navigate moving them back and forth. I had to be a little bit more persistent, but eventually the shoulders did give way, and now you can actually move them back and forth this way. The hands also as well rotate all the way around because they're simply just pegged in place. And then when it comes to the lower legs of Stay Puft, these legs also move back and forth as well. Again, no ball joints necessarily, just a straight swivel back and forth. And of course, on the underside there of the figure's feet, you've got 2023 trademark and Star Ace there as well. Star Ace is going to be running when it comes now to the Ghostbusters licensing. They're going to be doing a bunch of statues, a bunch of 6-scale figures, and I'm super excited. Being a big fan of Ghostbusters myself, it has been kind of a bit of a void, unfortunately, where it's been in between companies handling the Ghostbusters properties, especially when it comes to the premium statues and 6-scale markets. With Star Ace now doing it, again, I'm really excited to see what they have in store for us Ghostbuster fans. Now, this is, of course, just a case of more of a staction statue with very limited articulation. I'm sure when it comes down to the actual 6-scale figures of the Ghostbusters themselves, we're going to be getting premium figures with well-fabricked material costumes, and I'm really, again, excited for that. A really nice piece from the folks over at Star Ace. Now, when it certainly comes down to picking this one up, the folks over at Star Ace did provide for me the deluxe version, which again came included with this alternate head sculpt and also came included with the closed fists. Honestly, though, if given the choice, I probably would have just honestly picked up the standard release. Because while I do like the angry expression on Stay Puft here, I think I would probably just beeline it back to going with the standard head sculpt, just with a smiling expression on this oversized sailor. Makes a little bit more sense for my collection space. So if you'd like to get your hands on the Ghostbusters Stay Puft Marshmallow Man soft vinyl figure from Star Ace, once again, the figure is going to be slated to release the first quarter of 2024. The sites that currently have the listings available show it at $194.99, so about $195 for the deluxe version. If you are interested only just to get the standard release, it'd be a little bit less, obviously, than the $195 because it's going to have one less head, two less hands, and you can also go that route as well. Big thank you once again to the folks over at Star Ace that kindly did provide the sample of the upcoming release Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Of course, we had the chance to have a look at this review. What do you guys think of the figure? Let me know down below in the comments section. And are you also excited that Star Ace is going to be helming the Ghostbusters licensing? Again, they're going to be doing a bunch of statues. They're going to be doing some premium 6-scale figures with, of course, the Ghostbuster characters. Can't wait. If you guys enjoyed this video, want to hit with a like. If you guys are loving the content you guys are seeing, and you certainly would like to stick around for more, by the way, as well, if you'd like to see other things that Star Ace has done over the years, popping up also at the very end of this video will be a playlist of other things I've covered for the company in the past. Also, as well, if you guys want to stick around for more, if you haven't already done so, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and you're turning on as well the bell notification. And of course, as always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.